We are finally just 2 days away from Major League Baseball games, and I cannot believe I'm saying that. The offseason is over, the regular season has begun once again, and I am so excited for baseball. But today, I have to talk about the flaws of every Major League Baseball team. No team is perfect. Some teams are really close to it, especially one team that wears blue. I'm sure you know what team I'm talking about, but even they're flawed. And we will have to talk about the biggest flaw of every Major League Baseball team. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, less than 5% of my viewers are. Let's get into the video. Starting out with the NL East, I'm going to talk about the New York Mets. So I tried to get unique with some of these teams. I didn't want to do the same thing over and over. A lot of teams have pitching problems. The New York Mets aren't one of those teams, but a lot of teams also have defensive problems, and I think that the Mets are kind of one of those teams as well, but defense not up the middle. So the center fielder, second baseman, and shortstop should all be really good with Luis Robert, Francisco Lindor, and Marcus Semien, so the defense outside of them is going to be a bit of a problem, I think. That's their biggest flaw. Jorge Polanco is not a good defender. He's playing first base. That's scary. Bo Bichette at third base is horrifying. Francisco Alvarez is not a good defensive catcher. Juan Soto in the outfield. This is just a bad defensive team other than up the middle, so that's their biggest flaw. For the Atlanta Braves, they're just cursed. Their biggest flaw is that they were built on an ancient burial ground or something, and every single thing has gone wrong for them since they've won their World Series. Their pitching staff is already destroyed by injuries again, which is just horrible. Jerickson Profar, he got suspended for the second season in a row, and Ha-Seong Kim is already out for 5 to 6 months with an injury. This team just seems cursed. That's their biggest flaw. For the Miami Marlins, I'm just gonna say that they're not ready yet. They're too young. They're building something nice over there, but they're in the early stages of their rebuild still, and they haven't gotten to the point where they're contending yet. They're a solid team with some decent potential future core pieces, but they're not there yet. They're just a little bit too young. Before we continue talking about the flaws of every Major League Baseball team, let's talk about today's sponsor, SeatGeek. And I'm talking about SeatGeek here because you already know it doesn't have flaws. With over 35 million downloads, it is the #1 rated ticketing app today. There are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek right now. From concerts to festivals, and of course sports games, SeatGeek has everything that you're going to be looking for if you need a ticket into the event, including MLB. Even though the games haven't started yet, they're just like 2 weeks away at this point. If you want opening day tickets, go on SeatGeek, they have them. I love using SeatGeek. I've already bought tickets to 5 different games at Fenway Park this year. I'm looking to go to 10 games, and I've bought every single one using SeatGeek, of course. And I do this because the app makes it so easy for me. I don't even have to think about what tickets I'm gonna buy, it just tells me. Green means good, red means bad. I'm gonna stay away from the red tickets and I'm gonna go and buy a green one. Then I don't even have to worry about getting a bad deal. SeatGeek has your back. And every ticket is going to be backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code PESKY10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets using code PESKY10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you once again to SeatGeek for sponsoring the video. Let's get back into talking about some flaws. For the Washington Nationals, it's the pitching. All of the pitching. All of it. No one is good on the pitching staff anywhere. The entire pitching staff is a major problem. Cade Cavalli is probably the best pitcher on the entire staff, and that is not saying a lot at all because he's proven nothing in Major League Baseball throughout his very short career. This team's pitching is just so bad. They don't have talent on the staff, but that's their flaw. They have other flaws too. That's their biggest one. The Phillies' biggest flaw was a weird one for me to try to come up with. I'm not exactly sure what it is, so I think I'm going to say that it's Zach Wheeler's injured and they lost Ranger Suarez in free agency. They still have a really solid rotation with Christopher Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo, but not having your true ace in Zach Wheeler to begin the season and losing Ranger Suarez, who was very good throughout the postseason in his Philadelphia career, those are some big losses, and I think that that's a flaw in their roster. They didn't really replace those two arms, and that was kind of the strong suit of their team. They're still really good. That's a flaw though. Let's move over to the NL Central, and we're going to be starting out with the Cubs, and for them, I have their bullpen losses. I won't lie, this is similar to the Phillies, but the Cubs lost a lot of bullpen pieces, and that was a really strong part of their team last year. They lost Brad Keller, Drew Pomerantz, Andrew Kittredge, and more, but those three are the big ones. They still have Danny Palencia, and they did bring in a few other relievers, so I'm not too concerned about it, but this Cubs team has a good defense, it has a good offense, and it has a good rotation. So losing parts of their bullpen is probably their most flawed aspect of their roster. They're a good team. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, I have it's Connor Griffin starting in AAA. Connor Griffin, I think you should just have him on the MLB roster. You might as well. The Pirates are a pretty solid team in my opinion. I'm high on them going into this season, but I think that their ceiling is massively reduced by not putting Connor Griffin on that starting lineup. It's not like they're World Series favorites. I would take the risk and put the #1 prospect on your opening day roster. That's what I would do. I think it's the worst thing that they've done this offseason. He should be in MLB. For the Milwaukee Brewers, this probably isn't going to matter because it never does for them. They're lacking that true star power. Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, William Contreras, Brandon Woodruff, these are good players, but I don't think that any of those players are true, like, superstars anymore. They don't really have stars on this roster, and that's not the end of the world because they always win without them. But that is kind of their biggest problem. They just don't have that kind of Jose Ramirez type guy on the team. Hopefully Jackson Chourio will develop into that, but he's not there yet. So this is their flaw. For the St. Louis Cardinals, they sold all of their talent. They don't have any more talent except Ivan Herrera. They don't really have anyone else. JJ Weatherholt will come up at some point, but he's not up yet. Lars Nootbaar is already injured. They got rid of Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, Brennan Donovan, Nolan Arenado. They got rid of so much of their talent, and now they just don't have a lot of it. They just are not a good team right now. They know it, their fans know it, everyone knows it. The Cardinals are not good. Finishing out the NL Central with the Cincinnati Reds, Hunter Greene's injury. It's not their fault that he got injured, but man, the best part about that team was the rotation, and now Nick Lodolo has a blister problem as well. Hunter Greene is out for a few months at least. Oh man, that is a tough blow for a Cincinnati team that really needed to survive on a starting pitching strength. Not having their true ace, it's a major problem for Cincinnati. Finishing out the National League with the NL West, starting with the San Diego Padres, it's the back end of the rotation. Out of every team, the Padres might have the biggest flaw in MLB. Their 3 through 5 is awful right now. Hopefully Joe Musgrove will come back and solidify the 3 spot. That will help them out a lot. But outside of Musgrove, Nick Pivetta, and Michael King, this rotation is one of the scariest things I have ever seen on paper. They have Randy Vasquez, Herman Marquez, and Walker Buehler being the 3 through 5 to start the season. You might literally lose 75% of the games that those 3 pitchers pitch. Those are not good pitchers in 2026, and they're making up 60% of the rotation. This is a major issue. We're gonna rip the band-aid off with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Their biggest flaw is middle relief. What do you want me to say? Their closer is one of the best in baseball, if not the best in baseball. Their offense is the best in baseball, their defense is solid, and their rotation is the best in baseball. They don't have any flaws outside of the middle relief innings. I don't really know who's gonna get the job done in the 6th inning. Who cares though? Who cares, really? The San Francisco Giants are another team that I kind of have to question the pitching for. I don't trust it. I don't think that it's that good outside of Logan Webb. They brought in Tyler Mahle, that's a good signing, and Robbie Ray was pretty good last year, but I don't really trust him either. The rest of that rotation, however, it's a big question mark, and I don't love the bullpen either. Ryan Walker in 2024 was awesome, but in 2025 he was bad, and Randy Rodriguez is out for the season, so that was their best reliever. He's gone. I don't know, I don't think that this pitching staff is good. I'm gonna say that that's their biggest flaw. For the Colorado Rockies, it's the sport that they play. They're not a baseball team. They're not good at baseball, and unfortunately, they have to play baseball. So, I don't know, maybe they would be better if they played in like the NFL or the Professional Badminton League or something like that, but they don't. So, that's their flaw. They play in Major League Baseball, and they're not good at baseball. And finishing out the National League, I have another kind of boring one. I'm sorry, but it's just the reality. The biggest flaw of the Arizona Diamondbacks is the bullpen. They have the worst bullpen out of any solid team in baseball, in my opinion. They just have no one good in there. They're gonna lose a lot of games on the backs of their bullpen just blowing game after game. It's just the reality of what's going to happen in Arizona this year. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Starting out the American League with the Boston Red Sox, and they're missing the true superstar on the roster. I should say they're missing a true superstar on the offense, because Garrett Crochet, I would argue, is a superstar on the pitching side of the ball, and Roman Anthony could develop into that true superstar, but he's not yet. If they had gone out and gotten a real superstar bat like a Ketel Marte or a Pete Alonso, this roster would be so much deeper, or even if they had just kept Alex Bregman, but they didn't, so they don't really have that star, although it's still a really good team. They're just missing that superstar, in my opinion. The New York Yankees are going to be strikeouts on offense. This is a pretty non-flawed team as well, other than the fact that they strike out a little bit too much and they don't perform in the postseason, but I'm not going to really be talking about the playoffs in this video. Either way, the Yankees strike out a lot on offense. Even Aaron Judge, who's cut it down a lot throughout the years, he still strikes out a lot. Ryan McMahon strikes out a ton. Same thing with Giancarlo Stanton, Jazz Chisholm. Cody Bellinger doesn't strike out, Trent Grisham does, Austin Wells will give you a strikeout or two every once in a while, and so will Ben Rice. They were one of the top teams in strikeouts last year. I think it's going to continue this year. They're still a really good offense, but the worst part about the offense is definitely the swing and miss. For the Baltimore Orioles, they didn't go out and get a true proven ace. Now, if you know my videos, I think that Kyle Bradish is one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball and the most underrated pitcher in the league, so I think he could turn into an ace if he stays healthy, but he's definitely not proven that. And Trevor Rogers was also really good last year, but he's not a proven ace. They have a solid rotation, but they are missing that number one guy, and that's their biggest problem because the rest of the team is pretty good. The Tampa Bay Rays, I'm just gonna say that it's the division that they play in. They would win the American League Central most likely, and they would probably win it by quite a bit if they played in other divisions other than the AL East. They're just obviously the worst team in the AL East in my opinion. It's not even really that close, even though they are a pretty good team. It's just the four teams ahead of them are kind of big market powerhouses, and the Tampa Bay Rays are as low market as it gets. It's unfortunate that they're stuck with these four teams. And finishing out the American League East, the Toronto Blue Jays, home runs allowed? They're a pretty good team. I think that they're going to hit for more power than they did last year, which their flaw last year was home runs on offense, but I don't really think that they're going to do that again this year. However, I do think they are going to give up a lot of home runs. Last year, they were 6th in the league in home runs allowed. A lot of the teams that were worse than them were really bad teams, not teams that made it to the World Series, and they brought in Dylan Cease, which that is a good signing, but he definitely can give up home runs here and there. So this is going to contribute to even more home runs in my opinion. They should still be a solid pitching team overall, but I think they do need to watch out for how many home runs they're going to allow throughout the season, especially being in a division with the New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, and Baltimore Orioles, who are probably going to all homer a lot. Starting out the AL Central with the Cleveland Guardians, it's offensive home runs. They're not going to hit very many. They don't have very many players that can hit home runs consistently. Really, the only two that are going to give you home run production is Jose Ramirez because he does everything well, and Kyle Manzardo, who kind of broke out last year with the long ball. Everyone else, they're not going to really homer, and that's going to be the reason why they're not that great this year. The Detroit Tigers are a little bit mediocre at everything, I think, except like the top end of their rotation is elite, but the offense should be okay. The rest of the rotation should be okay, and the bullpen should be okay, along with the defense. But one thing that's not going to be okay, the base running. Last year, they were dead last in stolen bases, and they're just a really slow team overall. They don't really have anyone that's fast on the entire roster, and they're just not a good base running team. Although, if you watch John Boy Media, you might know that Zach McKinstry is the best player in the league at going first to third. However, that doesn't matter that much, so they're still the worst base running team in baseball. For the Chicago White Sox, I'm going defense. They have other flaws, of course. They're not great pitching, they're not a great offense, they're not a great pitching staff, but their defense is really not very good at all. And that's what I'm gonna say is their biggest flaw. They were terrible at it last year. I don't think they really brought in really good defenders. They also lost Luis Robert, who was a good defender. Mutataka Murakami, it's a great signing, but he's not good defensively. This team is not going to play good defense. It's going to be a very poor defensive team. For the Kansas City Royals, I have another kind of weird one here, and it's taking walks on offense. Last year, this is just something that they did not do as a team. Salvador Perez loves to chase, and maybe that's rubbed off on the rest of the team, because last year, they were second to last place in walks taken as an offense. They don't walk. Walking is the same thing as hitting a single most of the time. Moneyball would be very unhappy with this Royals approach, and honestly, I think it's their biggest flaw. They need to start walking more this year. The Minnesota Twins, I got a comment on my last video saying that I need to stop being so mean about them. No, they're awful. They're so bad. And for their biggest flaw, it's just that they're mediocre and they're always okay with being mediocre. They have no desire to not be mediocre. They don't want to rebuild. They don't want to sign players. They love just being as below mediocre as humanly possible. They're just super comfortable with being a mediocre franchise, and if you're okay with that too, that's fine. I'm not okay with teams just accepting mediocrity, even when they're not my favorite team. I hate that. It's bad for baseball. I do not like that they accept mediocrity. That's what they do. That's their biggest flaw. They love being mediocre or below mediocre. They're bad. Final division of the video. I've tried to go a little bit faster today. Hopefully you guys appreciate that. If you do, leave a like on the video. I have the Houston Astros, and it's that they have too many infielders and not enough outfielders. They just don't have a roster that makes a lot of sense, honestly. They have too many infielders, and when Jeremy Pena comes back, Isaac Paredes or Christian Walker is gonna have to sit pretty much every single game, and they don't have enough outfielders, and that's a real problem. Their lineup just isn't built very coherently, and it might not work as much as they want it to. I'm a little bit concerned about the way that they built their lineup. For the Athletics, it's pitching. I know it's chalk, I know it's boring, I understand that, but what else am I supposed to say? The offense is great, the defense is pretty solid as well, the pitching is awful, they don't have a bullpen, and they don't have a very good rotation at all. It's boring, I know, I don't want to say boring answers, but the biggest flaw of the Athletics objectively is their pitching staff. It's just not a good staff. This is the weirdest one on the list for the Seattle Mariners because I don't think that they're that flawed of a roster. They have pretty much everything almost perfect. Their rotation is incredible, their bullpen is super good and deep, and their lineup is really solid as well. Like, if you wanted me to say shortstop because JP Crawford isn't a top 15 shortstop, that's boring. That might be even more boring. So I went digging into the Fangraphs page. I wanted to find something that they were bad at last year. They were really bad at hitting line drives, so that's their biggest flaw. Last year, they ranked third to last place in line drives. This is a really good team. Apparently, they don't hit line drives. They got to do that more. Line drives are good. For the Texas Rangers, I think it's the bullpen. Chris Martin is really good in the bullpen, but he's ancient at this point, and the rest of the bullpen just isn't very good. I like the rotation, I like the offense, I like the defense enough. I actually kind of like the defense quite a bit. So the bullpen, I don't like that. That's it. The bullpen's just not good for the Texas Rangers. And last but not least, the bad team from Los Angeles, the Angels. It's just kind of that they're okay everywhere. Like, they're below okay everywhere. They're not the worst anywhere, but they're also not good anywhere. They don't have any part of this team that's like good. other than Mike Trout. And he hasn't played baseball for a few seasons. So apart from him, they're just not really good. The bullpen is fine, the rotation is fine, the offense is fine, but I don't think they're top 12 in anything, but I don't think that they're bottom 5 in anything either. Maybe they are something, but I don't think so. So they're okay everywhere, but not good anywhere. That's what they are. That's all 30 teams. Again, I wanted the pacing to be a little bit quicker in this one. Let me know if you like that, or if you think I should be a little bit slower with the video next time. I hope you still enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully.